Carpenter Finney, Superintendent Taylor, school board, faculty, family, and friends. It gives me the distinct honor and privilege to welcome you to the commencement exercises of the class of 1989. Tonight's graduates have put in numerous hours in attending class and studying. However, all we really needed to know, we learned in kindergarten. This is an article by Robert Fogram. Most of what we really needed to know about how to live and what to do and how to be, we learned in kindergarten. Wisdom was not at the top of the graduate school mountain, but there on the sandbox at the nursery school. These are the things we learned. Share everything, play fair, don't hit people, put things back where you found them, clean up your own mess, don't take things that aren't yours, say you're sorry when you hurt somebody, wash your hands before you eat, flush the toilet, warm cookies and cold milk are good for you, live a balanced life, learn some and think some and draw and paint and sing and dance and play and work every day some. Take a nap every afternoon. When you go out into the world, watch for traffic, hold hands, and stick together. Be aware of wonder. Remember the little seed in the plastic cup? The roots go down and the plant goes up, and nobody really knows how or why. But we are all like that. Goldfish and hamsters and white mice and even the little seed in the plastic cup. They all die. So do we. And then you remember the book about Dick and Jane, and the first word you learned, the biggest word of all, look. Everything you need to know is there somewhere. The golden rule and love and basic sanitation, ecology and politics and sane living. Think of what a better world it would be if we all, the whole world, had cookies and milk about 3 o'clock every afternoon, and then lay down with our blankets for a nap. Or if we had a basic policy in our nation and other nations to always put things back where we found them and clean up our own mess. And it is still true, no matter how old you are, when you go out into the world, it is best to hold hands and stick together. As kindergarten was the beginning of our school, tonight is the beginning of our future. Thank you.
Superintendent Taylor, school board members, Mr. Martin, teachers, fellow students, friends, and family, it is with great pleasure that I address you as salutatorian this evening. For the past 13 years, we, the class of 1989, have struggled through tests, research papers, class schedules, and locker problems, not to mention the fines and dues we've had to pay. We have stuck together, yet we have all been individuals. From the very beginning, we were a unique class. One of our elementary teachers many years ago told my parents during a parent-teacher conference that our class was one of the most unique classes of individuals ever taught. If the teacher wanted the class to do something and everyone didn't agree, he could usually talk to some of the class leaders and get response through these leaders from the whole class. But our class couldn't be dealt with this way. Each person was an individual. Our class is full of all types and varieties. We are unique, yet we are all friends. We started out 4 short years ago with about 120 freshmen. Through these past 4 years, we have changed. Friends have moved away, dropped out, or drifted apart. New kids have moved in, some of whom have become our best friends. During high school, we have survived homecoming skits, dissecting frogs, selling candy bars for prom, driver's ed, and senior English. For the most part, our families have supported us through all of these experiences. They have encouraged us to do our homework instead of dragging Maine or going to Taco Bender or getting drunk. They have been excited about our accomplishments and not so excited about our mistakes. They have let us learn to make our own decisions. All in all, our parents have been there when we needed them. Thanks, parents. To our principals and teachers, thanks for putting up with us. I guess it kind of goes both ways. We put up with you and you put up with us. We say we are glad to be leaving, and we are, but we have gained knowledge for the future because of what you have taught us. Math, English, PE, science, and fine arts, to name a few. A thank you also goes to the people of the community. They, you, have helped us get here today. You supported our fundraisers, donated food and prizes for our activities, and donated your time for us. You came to our athletic events and donated our scholarships. You let us use your parking lots for car washes, yard sales, and more car washes, and we appreciate it. We are ready to become adults now, ready to face the, quote, real world. The world is probably looking back laughing at us right now, but soon it will not be. We will all go our separate ways, into college, into the Army, or perhaps into the work field. Our circle of friends and experiences will expand, but we will never forget each other and life at Grand County High School, even though we say we may want to. In the last scene of the story of Camelot, a little boy speaks to the king. Because of this boy, King Arthur once again gains hope for the future. As the little boy leaves and Pele, the king's aide, approaches, Pele asks, "Who is that?" King Arthur replies, "One of what we all are, less than a drop in the great blue motion of the sunlit sea. But some of them do sparkle, Pele. Some of them do sparkle." It is my hope that we, the class of 1989, will be some of those sparkling drops in the great blue sea.
Farewell, my friend. We've come through joy and sorrow, and now the curtain falls. Goodbye, my friend. How many steps still left to take? How many dreams to dream? How many plans to make? How much it seems like goodbye again. We thought we had for always, but now it's time to say goodbye again. Farewell, my friend. We've come through joy and sorrow, and now the curtain falls. Goodbye, my friend. How many steps still left to take? How many dreams to dream? How many plans to make? How much it seems like goodbye, my friend. Goodbye until tomorrow. I know we'll meet again. Until that day, goodbye, my friend.
Superintendent, school board members, Principal Martin, teachers, parents, guests, and fellow students. First of all, I'd like to thank Monica, Dave, and Kathleen and Russell for that song. That's so beautiful.
And Mrs. Clark for playing. She does such a wonderful job at all these things. She does. One day Jill came home from college. She was complaining about how hard all the examens were. One in particular was really getting her nervous coming up the next week. Well, when her mom heard about it, like any good mother, she was instantly prepared with lecture number 31 on the value of studying. So, for once, Jill took the advice. Next 3 days, she studied solid for that test. Next weekend when she came home, her mom asked her how she did. She said, "I can't believe I studied. That's the easiest test I've ever taken in my life." Your life can be as easy and as successful as Jill's test was if you prepare for it. The preparing isn't that hard. All it does is takes a little bit of time. That can be done at any time in your life. Just take the time to do it, and you can change your life. First of all, when you're preparing for your life ahead, you need to research the options that are ahead open to you. There's lots of them, especially in a class like this where we have so much talent, so much potential. You need to look at the options, look at what interests you, and then choose something that you like and set your goals to achieve it. It doesn't matter what the goals are. It doesn't matter if you're planning on changing them in the future. The thing is that you need to set goals. Goals are what keep you alive. They will keep you going from day to day. They'll drive you to do your best. It doesn't matter what the goals are, whether it's to get a family, whether it's to save up enough money to get a car, or whether it's just to make it to the end of the day. Set goals in your life. Set your goals high. It was once said that it's better to shoot for the stars and fall short than to shoot for a cow pie, hit head on. Another thing, when you're choosing these goals, look at your own talents. Once again, this class is so wonderful. And most of the people I know, everyone I know has talents. Wonderful talents. They just need to be developed. They need to be channeled. They need to be magnified. Quite often people don't magnify their talents because they feel, oh, it's not good enough, or I'd be afraid to try. They're like, I'd be afraid to try out stuff. I'm afraid people may make fun of me. But the woods would be silent if the only birds that sang were the ones that were the best. We need to get out and do our best every day. After this, the steps for doing this are really fairly easy up to this point. Basically, just researching your possibilities, setting some goals, and then you got to write them down. That's a fairly easy step too, because a goal unwritten is merely a dream. Write your goals down. Next step, though, is the hard one. If you don't do the next step, you may as well have not even tried. Your failure is there's almost no way that you can succeed. However, if you do the next step, which is working to achieve the goal, working your hardest to achieve the goal, and never giving up, your success is almost inevitable. Your attitude helps a lot. Your attitude is very vital in this step. Got a little poem that illustrates this. I won't is good for nothing. I can't is a quitter. I don't know is lazy. I might is just waking up. I will try is on his feet. I can is on his way. I will is at work. And I did is the boss. Hopefully, most of us are at the I will or the I can, if not further. If not, it's time to change and develop an attitude of I can, I will, and get it to the point where I did. That way you can feel better about yourself. George Yates is a wonderful example of this, of setting high goals and then working hard to achieve them and never giving up, no matter how much it hurts. In 1983, George Yates was a world-class triathlete. The previous season, he had finished 7th in Hawaii's grueling Ironman triathlon, one of the most punishing tests of endurance ever devised. It includes swimming 2.4 miles in the ocean, bicycling 112 miles, and running a 26.2-mile marathon, all in rugged conditions. In 1984, however, he was stricken with ankylosing spondylitis, a form of arthritis. The pain that it caused made it almost impossible for him to even get out of bed. His joints swelled up, his muscles atrophied. He lost 40 pounds in a very short amount of time. One morning, with no help at hand, he tried to make it to the bathroom. His friends found him an hour later unconscious on the floor. When they revived him, it hurt. He didn't even want to be touched. It hurt so bad. It took the paramedics an hour just to get him into the ambulance. In the hospital, he decided not to succumb to the disease, however. He set a goal to place in the top 10 in the Ironman. This seemed almost impossible. He couldn't even move. He couldn't even bear to be touched. But he set the goal, and that's what's important. Obviously, it wasn't going to be easy. And so he set little intermediate goals along the way to help him achieve this ultimate goal. These intermediate goals are very vital in the goal-setting process. They keep you going when the long-range goals seem out of sight. When you don't think you're going to be able to make it, they'll keep you going. The little accomplishments will feed your confidence and keep you moving. So, his first intermediate goal, he decided he was going to learn to sit up in bed. He was going to work on it. It took him 10 days to do what most of us do every morning without even hardly thinking about it. Within a month, he was able to get up out of bed and maneuver in a walker. He was able to make it around, just barely. He was able to get around fairly well. Then he got on an exercise program that included weightlifting, swimming, a rowing machine, and an electronic bicycle. He worked on this up to 4 hours every day, 5 days a week, every week. He just kept on working and working. Often the pain was so great in the morning that he had to argue with himself to even get out of bed. But his competitive experience had taught him not to set goals and then fail to try to achieve them. When George first started in the exercise program in July, he set another intermediate goal, to be able to walk unassisted by the end of August. He kept pushing through the great pain. On August 17th, he walked alone for the first time in 4 months. He still, however, had to lift his legs one at a time, pull himself up to get out of the car. And then when he walked, it was still barely shuffling. When he got that far, though, he set a goal to relearn how to ride a bike. He was able to pedal. At first, he had to be helped onto the seat. And that's it. A couple of weeks later, he was able to pedal for a short distance. After 6 weeks, he was able to go one complete lap, 3.1 miles around the track. The pain in his legs was agonizing, and he was exhausted, but he did it. He accomplished this intermediate goal, and it built up his confidence. He told himself, tomorrow I'm going to make 2. The next day, he got through 1 and said, enough is enough. I'm not going to go for another one. But a good friend and trainer, this guy who was working with him, egged him on, badgered him into going for the 2nd lap. And it's very good that he did that. But soon, he was up to 4 laps, and then he had doubled that, and the guy was up to going 8 laps around the track in one sitting. Soon after that, a couple months later, he was actually able to get out and really jog through all his constant exercising. It wasn't easy. It was still painful, but he was able to do it. He could bicycle up to 30 miles at a time. There was always the pain, always, but it was soon overshadowed by the sense of accomplishment which came from achieving these intermediate goals and from being close to the ultimate goal. He tried competing in a shorter triathlon in Los Angeles, and he took 48th out of 400 contestants. With this in mind, he set his sights on the Ironman triathlon 4 months later of 1985. He pushed his training to the limit. When he finally made it, he was one of over 1,000 contestants. He dove into the ocean, and at the end of the 2.4-mile swim, he was in 79th place. After the 112-mile bicycle ride, he was up to 6th place. Through the marathon, he pushed his hardest. He made it to the 20-mile marker before he had to stop and rest. And then his knees locked up, and his legs stiffened. The doctor massaged him, but when he tried to run again, he almost fell flat on his face. Determined not to quit, he determined he was going to achieve this goal. He walked stiff-legged the rest of the race. Although he was heartbroken, as over 115 people passed him up, when he thought about the accomplishments and what he had gone through for the last 16 months, he enjoyed the proudest moment of his life when he crossed the finish line, placing 134th. George Yates has been competing ever since. In the 1986 Ironman, he had to walk the entire marathon portion. He was placed 911 in a field of 1,039. In 1987, he did it again. He placed 193rd out of 1,381. In 1988, he ran it again, and he placed 330th out of 275. It was said that there were only 10 people who had done the Ironman triathlon more often than he had. In George's own words, take your problems by the scruff of the neck and deal with them. The way to make positive things happen is to find the right help, set realistic goals, and do what it takes to meet them. Don't let anything ruin the only life you have to live. Even though George never finished in the top 10 in the Ironman, look what did happen. As a result of his setting these goals and working to achieve them, he came from a bedridden invalid to a successful athlete. If he hadn't ever set the ultimate goal and the intermediate goals, he would still be just a nobody, practically. That's why you should shoot for the stars. You shoot for the stars, and you can only go up. This class has a lot of potential, as I said before. If we apply ourselves, I'm sure we can all go very far. I'm going to give you a challenge, and I'm going to read a poem I have. I'm sure the poem exemplifies a lot of the way we feel, and it leaves you with a subtle challenge of its own. I want to challenge everyone, students, parents, teachers, everyone, to go for the gusto. Set high goals and work to achieve them. Never be completely content with where you are, because that is where progress stops. The greatest adventure is what lies ahead. Today and tomorrow are yet to be said. The chances, the changes are all yours to make. The mold of your life is in your hands to break. The greatest adventure is there if you're bold. Let go of the moment that life makes you hold. To measure the meaning can make you delay. It's time you stop thinking and wasting the day. The man who's a dreamer and never takes leave, who thinks of a world that is just make-believe, will never know passion, will never know pain. Who sits by the window will someday see rain. The greatest adventure is what lies ahead. Today and tomorrow are yet to be said. The chances, the changes are all yours to make. The mold of your life is in your hands to break.
Good evening. About a week ago, I started searching for the perfect joke to tell this evening. But my mother begged and begged and begged for me not to tell a joke, so thank her. When Michael Hyatt and I were asked to find a graduation speaker for this evening, we wanted to find someone unique and someone who would stand out above the rest, and I think that we've done a pretty good job with that. She was the first American to win an Olympic gold medal in her sport of cycling at the 1984 Olympic Games in Los Angeles. She was a 12-time national cycling champion, a world champion, and a 3-time winner of the Coors International Classic. She was a speed skater on the 1972 Olympic team and a national collegiate rowing champion while at the University of California. She is currently a national junior Olympic cycling coach and a graduate student in her spare time. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Connie Carpenter.
Thank you, Lana. You know, when Lana called me up a few months ago and asked me if I'd like to speak at the high school graduation here in Moab, I thought it was one of my friends playing a joke on me. I didn't discover Moab until last fall when I came out for the Fat Tire Festival, because after all, I am a cyclist. And once discovered, I couldn't keep from coming back. And I thought it was one of my friends joking with me because I kept telling them about Moab, and I figured that, you know, they were just pulling my leg. But it took me a while to realize that she was serious, and really I didn't tell her, but one of the main reasons I accepted this invitation, other than to spend a little time out here and do a lot of mountain biking while I'm here, is that this is my first high school graduation. I was kind of busy when I was in high school, and I didn't have a lot of time. I was so involved with sports that I wasn't as involved as I should have been or wished I would have been in school. And I actually graduated from high school a year early. And I didn't want to go to the graduation of that class because I didn't really know that class, and I didn't want to go to my class because I'd been out for a year. So this is my first high school graduation. But this is the most beautiful place on earth. You've heard those words before. Many of you have read Desert Solitaire by Edward Abbey, and it's the opening line of the book. And it is the most beautiful place on earth. Not only for those of us who discover it on mountain bikes and discover it for our own recreational pleasure, but for those of you who've grown up here, spent your whole life here. You don't believe it now when I tell you that it's the most beautiful place on earth, because many of you are itching to get away from this place. It's a place that's been confounded with many rules and regulations. It's been a place that's been kind of confining, probably, for a lot of you. And you can't wait to get away. And you won't know until you go away and come back that this sky is the bluest sky that you'll ever see, and those rocks are the reddest rocks that you'll ever see. And this is your place. And if you are where you come from, then I guess I'm not a red rock and I'm not a big blue sky, I'm a lake. I come from Madison, Wisconsin, America's dairy land, and I won't say that I'm a cow, even though there's a lot of cows there. But when I think about what I am and where I come from, I think about lakes, because there's a lot of water there in contrast to here. And I grew up in a nice place, a beautiful place in its own right, and maybe for me the most beautiful place on earth. And what was really special for me about being from there was probably leaving there. Because you have to leave a place in order to really appreciate it. And then you have to come back. But for me, being from a place with many lakes, and being from a place that's very cold in the winter, I found myself with little else to do in the winter but just ice skate. And I lived across the street when I was growing up from an elementary school, and the playground was always flooded, so I skated every night. And because it's cold in Wisconsin, you learn to skate fast. So circumstance has a lot to do with what kind of sport you find and what you do with your life. So for me, I became a speed skater first. I always had a lot of energy, and I couldn't just direct it into school, I had to direct it into other things. And I was lucky to find sport at a young age. And I qualified for the Olympic team when I was 14 years old. I was a 9th grader in Sherman Junior High School back in Madison. And it was an overwhelming experience. I made the team without really trying, in retrospect. I had a lot of natural ability, and I had the opportunity. And so I made that team, and I went to the Olympic Games in Sapporo, Japan. It was a long way from home. I was the only redhead in Sapporo, Japan. And I roomed with a girl, Ann Henning, who won a gold medal. She was 16 years old. And I thought I had the world at my doorstep. I was 14 years old, I was on the Olympic team. I would become Olympic champion in the next Olympic Games. I knew that. I had a Norwegian coach who told me that Rome wasn't built in one day, nor was any athlete, but I didn't believe him. I knew I would be world champion in a few years and Olympic champion in 4 years. I knew that. So 1 week before the Olympic trials, just after I graduated from high school, I tore a tendon in my ankle, and I didn't make the Olympic team. And it was probably one of the most devastating experiences that I ever had, because I knew I could be Olympic champion. And if you would have told me back when I was a 9th grader and had competed in the Olympic Games that I wouldn't be an Olympic champion in 4 years, but it would take me 12 years, I would have laughed at you. I was certain that I could do just that. It seemed easy. It seemed within my grasp. But it takes a long time to chase your dreams and to realize your dreams. And so I know that many of you have had enough of the 3 R's, writing, reading, and arithmetic. Is that an R word, arithmetic? I didn't finish English class, I guess. I don't know. But what I want to talk to you about are the 3 C's. If I can give you one more lesson, I want you to take this with you. And those are commitment, challenge, and control. Because what I had to learn in order to become Olympic champion were those 3 C's. Control. What does that mean? It means that you're not powerless. You can do what you want to do. And it's a hard thing to come to grips with, whether you're pursuing an educational interest or a vocational interest or a sport. Granted, in sport, it's easier to turn your dreams into an obsession and to let it be all-consuming. Easier because you make it easy for yourself, because you control it. Commitment because it takes a long time. It doesn't just happen overnight. It doesn't just happen because you want it to. It happens because you make it happen through a lot of hard work and a lot of time spent. And challenge because if you don't have a challenge, you don't have anything. And a lot of people ask me how it felt to stand on the podium at the Olympic Games, to hear the national anthem played, to receive the Olympic gold medal. And I don't remember much of that. That wasn't what was important to me. It wasn't standing on at the Olympic Games on the podium and taking the medal. I don't remember that. What I remember is being a speed skater. What I remember is not making the Olympic team and having to turn that around. And I was lucky because I found a sport that I was better suited to than speed skating. I didn't really like cold weather anyway. And I found a sport that I was successful at right away. The first year that I cycled, I won 2 national titles and went to the World Championships in Italy. It afforded me great opportunity to travel, and it gave me the outlet that I needed. And at the same time, I was pursuing a college degree. I took a few years off, somewhere in there, and really off from college, I should say, not from sport. And I really pursued cycling, but I was again disappointed. I wasn't fulfilling my dream. I spent 4 years cycling and I won many national titles, but I wasn't as successful at the World Championships as I would have liked. And so I stopped cycling one year and I went back to college and I started a new sport, rowing. I don't know how many of you have had the opportunity to see rowing. You know, the sport with 8 people sitting in a boat, going backwards through the water. It's a different sport, and it's the ultimate team sport. Because 8 of you are in a shell, it's called, and whether you know it or not, the shoes are actually bolted into the boat. So when you get in the boat and you put your feet in, you're actually bolted to the boat. That's a team sport. Can't bail out. And to top it off, there's a little person called the coxswain who sits up front, actually in the stern because you're going backwards, and tells you what to do. The coxswain's kind of like your teacher or your principal, the person that's always telling you what to do, sometime when you don't want to hear it. And the coxswain has a microphone like this one and sits in the boat and watches your puddles go by as you're rowing through the water. And as you can imagine, rowing demands great perfection and great timing. All the oars have to hit the water at the same time. There's 4 oars on either side of the boat. And the coxswain has a really tough job. The rowers are in the boat rowing as hard as they can, using all your body, all your muscles. And the coxswain sits there and watches your puddles go by. That's a tough job. To top it off, she watches the shape of your puddle to see if you're working hard enough. And if you're not, she calls out your name. Carpenter, work harder. It's an embarrassing moment, especially for somebody who had come from individual sports. And I was always accountable to myself. I had myself to blame if I didn't go hard enough. And now here was this person sitting in the boat asking me to work harder. And worse yet, there were all these other people in the boat with me thinking I wasn't working as hard as I should. It was a hard sport, and it taught me a lot of humility. But that little voice stayed with me when I went back to cycling, when it was announced that women's cycling would be included in the Olympics in 1984. It was the first time women's cycling, much like the women's marathon, would be an Olympic event. And so that break that I took from cycling, it was just one season, was good for me. It wasn't like speed skating where I was forced to stop. I had decided to stop on my own. And I was involved with my college career, which gave me a nice distraction, and I did graduate from college. When I went back to cycling, I had a fresh perspective. But I couldn't forget those things that were important: commitment, control, and challenge. Certainly training for the Olympic Games is one of the biggest challenges that I will ever face in my life, but it's not the only challenge. And I think my perspective, my experiences, helped make me a more balanced athlete and a more balanced person. And so when I came to the Olympic Games, I was ready. I wasn't nervous. I was excited. It was a good time for me, because when you prepare for something, when you work hard for something, you're not afraid of it. It's not a scary thing to shoot for the stars, as Ken said. So when I came down to the final lap of the Olympic road race, I don't know how many of you saw it. It was 4 or 5 years ago. There were 6 of us in a group, and only one of us would win. And cycling races are generally determined by sprints to the finish and can be very close. In fact, one year at the World Championships, 4 of us came across the finish line in a width of this distance, and I had been 3rd. And so I knew what it was like to lose by a small margin. But at the Olympic Games in 1984, I wasn't going to let that happen. And when we came down into the final sprint, everything that I had worked for was really coming to fruition at the finish line. And I don't know how many of you saw the race, but I won by this much. Less than an inch. And sometimes I think, I don't know what it was that made the difference between first and second, but I think in no small way it was the amount of time that it took me to get there, and the fact that I didn't give up coming all the way to the finish line. Certainly the hundreds and thousands of miles that I rode on my bicycle helped. But I think too that coxswain, that little voice, was there in the back of my mind saying, "Carpenter, pull harder." And I listened to that voice. And you have to take that voice with you, because that's the voice of challenge, of control, and commitment. So that's my lesson for you, the class of 1989. I believe you will be successful. I applaud your individualistic attitude. I think it will take you somewhere, but I think you'll come back. You'll find that this is the most beautiful place on earth. And I'll leave you with this thought from Kierkegaard. Each of us is the sole obstacle to our own perfection. And I challenge you not to be that obstacle to your own perfection. Thank you.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
It's really fun to do this. But before we do what we're here to do, I would like to recognize seniors that have carried a 3.5 grade point average for their 4-year stay here. And seniors, as I call your name, would you please stand? Cheryl Ann Adamson. Trace Benford. Millie Birdwell. Jaron Carling. Kathleen Clark.
My girl.
Jean Klein. Robert Dolphin. Marva Esham. Claudia Heinrich. Mike Hyatt. Monica Holyoke. David Morey. Millie Saunders. Bruce Stocks. Todd Vanderveen. And Kenneth Welling. It's indeed a pleasure to present the class of 1989. They've met all state requirements and local board requirements. At this time, I'd like to introduce to you Mr. Mike Earhart, Board President.
Sylvia Ann Tony. Mary Kathleen Clark. Kelly J. Huff. Mildred Yvonne Saunders. Marcy Babcock. Shara Lee Taylor. Karen Lynn Meadows. Erin Irene Belt. Billy Joseph Jesse. Jared Zenas Scott Shumway. Eugene Klein. Bruce M. Stocks. David M. Morey. Sean C. Buchan. Michael C. Monroe. Stan W. Elvey. Karma Pauline Johnson. Valerie Elaine Ellis. Janet L. Axtell. Shelley Lynn Carver. Janet Lorene McTaggart. Tara Gwen Thane. Cheryl Ann Adamson. Tracy Lynn Matlock. Billy A. Olson. Justin Jensen. Greg Hernandez. Paul G. Patterson. Robert Frazier. J. E. Bell Dalton. Monty Ward. Orion Enskeep. Millie Jo Birdwell. Tina Marie Nyland. Robin Lene Johnson. Holly Ann Murphy. Marva Lane Esham. Claudia Heinrich. Jill Martin. Jennifer Hamlin. Russell Aaron Pierce. Andrew Tony. Kenneth J. Welling. James D. White. David Paul Brady. David Joe Christensen. Rodney Allen Stevens. Todd Douglas Vanderveen. Pamela Jean Wyatt. Cynthia Westwood. Rhonda Marie Nation. Monica Ruth Holyoke. Sherry Kopka. Tina M. Kister. Lana K. Sorensen. Trace Alita Binford. Shane Allen Cather. Jaron W. Carling. Stephen Bruce Korn. Derek William Cook. Mark Lee Austin. Robert Dean Dolphin. Mike Dean Hyatt. Heather Kathleen McLeod. Janice Maxine Leach. Leanne L. Huff. Susan K. Stewart Sechrist. Alice Corina Foy. Helene Adele Swell.
Tessie.
Dear Lord, we ask your blessing over each and every one of us here tonight. As we graduates step out into our future, we ask that you keep your hand over us to protect us, to give us courage to step out into the world and to be the best that we can be, whether we become teachers, doctors, lawyers, or whether we go on to college. Thank you, dear Lord, for keeping us safe. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.